Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Gail, and welcome to Women Over 70 Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast.
So today we're delighted to be in conversation with Jane Seskin. Jane, age 80, is an award-nominated author and poet and a psychotherapist. For 20 years, she provided individual and group counseling to survivors of violent crimes in a specialized hospital in New York. She's the author of 13 books and has published more than 40 essays and poems in magazines and national magazines and journals. Jane's new collection of 89 poems, Older, Wiser, Shorter, The Truth and Humor of Life After 65, is, and I quote, authentic, funny, quirky, and heartfelt, acknowledging the physical vulnerabilities, emotional losses, and surprises people encounter in their later decades. Jane says she pays tribute to the sense of power, resilience, and newfound joys people discover as they acknowledge and accept their aging. So welcome, Jane, to Women Over 70. And we want to thank Corinne Pritchett, publicist with Books Forward, for introducing you to us. We want to focus the conversation on your writing, especially your latest book, but we're intrigued about your work as a psychotherapist. So could you give us a glimpse into what that involved or how that began?
Well, that is really part of reinventing yourself. I was a freelance writer for 15 years, and I was on a book tour and in a radio studio in Miami, and someone called in and asked a personal question, and I answered their question. And then I went down and was getting into the cab, going to the next television show. And I thought to myself, you have no business answering a question. You are a writer. You observe people. You write about people. You listen to people. You should not be doing this, Jane. No. 6 weeks later, when I got home, I thought to myself, because I took this very seriously, that I was handing out advice whenever I felt like it. And I thought to myself, this is so wrong. You have really got to do something credible. And so I applied to one social work school, Hunter, in New York City. And lo and behold, I was in the right time period where they were just looking for people, and they accepted me. And I was 39 years old. And I thought, okay, I'm going to social work school. And so that really kind of solidified the idea that change is possible. Before I went to social work school, I was a volunteer advocate at Crime Victims Treatment Center. And being a advocate meant I got up in the middle of the night if the hospital emergency room called me, if someone had been brought in who had been assaulted. And in some way, this played out for my desire for drama, because I could get into a cab at 4 a.m. in the morning and say, step on it, the emergency room. So that was quite wonderful until I got to the emergency room and met the survivor and tried to help the survivor, because I would be the first person she would meet on her journey. I should not say she, because it's also men who get attacked and assaulted also. So that was the beginning of I had no idea to wind up as a therapist. But I have to say, the 20 years I spent at Crime Victims, seeing all kinds of survivors, was probably one of the highlights of my life and my career, because I saw that people survived. I saw that we are resilient as people. After a terrible thing has happened, we are still resilient. That to me is extraordinarily encouraging.
So I was really curious about what connections you make between that work, your work as a therapist, and the topics that you write about.
Connection is, I think, an observation, and how they present, and is anything off? For those 20 years I was in a hospital, you did not want to meet me at a cocktail party after you had fallen down or had a bruise on your arm, because I would say, what happened? It was just in writing about my life as I get older, I am witnessing my days in print. I am saying, oh, okay, this happened. All right. Okay, what does this mean, Jen? There are changes. There are changes as we grow older, as I'm sure your audience and you know.
We know. I'd love to have you read one of your poems.
Good.
More than one.
Okay, this seems right at this moment. And it's called Accommodation. It's on page 63. 6 days after 9/11, I worked on New York City's West Side Pier, counseling survivors and family members anxious for information. Trips to New Orleans after Katrina and Duluth for DV training solidified social work interventions. 16 years later, the call for clinicians to provide help for victims of Hurricane Harvey came to me across the internet. I paused, got up from the computer, walked around my living room, put on a Chris Bodie CD, and sighed. Because I knew in that deep moment of knowing that I could no longer jump on a plane to help another city. I could only march in my own. I knew I was too old. And so, doing not what I wished I could, but what was needed, I researched Houston charities and took out my credit card. This poem feels very emblematic to me in terms of what I think of the 3 A's of aging, and that is acknowledgement, accommodation, and acceptance. I acknowledge the problem. I accommodate in terms of, can I really jump on a plane and go now help somebody else? No, really, I'm too old to be doing that, honestly. No more bunk beds, under a tarp. No, can't do that anymore. So what can I do? Because what can I do is the acceptance of where I am. I'm a social worker. I'm hopefully, kind-hearted and go where I'm needed. But the reality is I'm not going there. So what can I do? I can give money. That I can do. And so this poem feels very meaningful in terms of what we face each day in terms of our own lives. Acknowledgement, accommodation, and acceptance. Yeah. Yeah.
That certainly hits a bell with me. And
Yeah.
as I listened to you, my first reaction was, what's too old?
Yeah.
Right? What's too old?
Exactly. And that's the acknowledgement that I can no longer be the way I was in my 30s, 40s, 50s, let's say. I can go with a little bag on the plane. No, I need stuff. And that's the acceptance of this is who I am at this stage in my life.
Well, beautifully spoken.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So Jane, you've said that writing has allowed you to explore self-discovery and it's resulted in resilience. And we've already heard a bit about that. But what about your own journey would you like to share?
I think my own journey is about, at the end of each chapter, there are vows. The vows I wrote because they are the commitment I make to myself. Now, it might be something very easy, like I'm going to try a new food every week at Trader Joe's. I don't know whether you have a Trader Joe's or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to try something new. Last week, I tried organic chicken sausages. They were quite tasty. So, I mean, it is the writing is the pushing myself out there. It is the being able to talk to many, many people and find out that what I am experiencing is not so personal. It is universal. And I think that to me is absolutely the best. When someone says to me, you live in my head, well, I'm glad to reside there. I mean, it is wonderful. It is wonderful. So I feel very grateful that I'm able to put on paper my observations.
You must have continued writing when you were working as a first as well.
Yes, I did continue writing, but at the hospital unit, I wrote a book about violence, which is a poetry book, which I felt very deeply about, it's called Witness to Resilience, Stories of Intimate Violence. And it talks about how I work with battered women. And I have to thank all the battered women I saw who taught me about power and control, which is the essence of that dynamic. I did continue writing, but it was much more low key. It was much more, it wasn't about me, except for that book. It was more about guidebooks for new social workers about violence. It was about programs and how to pull them off so people would know what violence was about. It was poetry about what the violence did to me. So that is where writing helped me, because I do think that writing your thoughts are important in terms of for anyone, but especially aging. That is one of the messages I would give to people, that write down your thoughts, accomplish one thing during the day, one thing, one action. Maybe you went outside. Maybe you said hello to a stranger. That is worthy of you writing down. So a month from now, you can say, well, this is what I did on this Monday. I had a conversation with Catherine and Gail. Yay. Okay. That's great, because it gives you a record of what you're doing and maybe what you need to do more of. I think I got off base here.
Yeah, no, not at all. Really kind of moves into this notion of being open to possibility.
Yes,
You have another poem, yes?
I do. I do. Okay. So this is Taking Flight on page 54. Weigh-in at airport. Computer bag, 6 pounds. Suitcase, 20, with souvenir fudge from Martha's Vineyard. And me, grateful to Weight Watchers. Computer bag stored in left wing of small plane. Suitcase in hours. The pilot welcomes 2 steps up, bend your head. We are 6 men, 2 women. I'm the oldest, a first-timer, anxious. It's a sunny morning to be hanging around the sky, and the takeoff is gentle. I feel lucky. There's no talking for this 1 hour, 10-minute trip. Each of us folded into ourselves. The cabin is warm, cozy. I close my eyes, clasp hands in lap, slow my breathing. The minutes move. Easy down, we land. Relieved, grinning, I applaud. One of the guys takes my photo. I walk away proud, still eager to have an adventure. This was something I had no idea I would do when I took this trip. And then the plane that I was normally going to be on was canceled. And I thought to myself, but you need to go home. You have clients, you know? And so I asked, is there another plane? And they said, yes, a small one. And I said, oh, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to do this. And I think this is really, if you can find something to do that takes you out of your comfort zone and you do it, how wonderful is that? That you're still willing and eager to try new things. I think that's just, I swear this is my new cocktail party poem, because it is just, I am so happy by it.
So are you still trying? I mean, was this recent? Are you still trying new things? Are you still, when you write?
I am indeed.
When you write,
Yes.
does the writing come from the experience as you're doing it, or does it come later when you realize that was something worthwhile to write about? How does that work?
I think as I have gotten older, I think it is because I might not remember the feelings that are being evoked as I walk along the street and I see something. And so I may jot down a line or a phrase, and then that sits maybe in the phone. Or if I'm really thinking about the experience and I want to do more on it, then I will do more on it that day. Then I will put it aside. Then I will come back to it. Then I will write some more. Then I will take out some. Then I will edit again. Then I will put it away. Then it's in a folder by itself, relaxing, having a good time, waiting for me to come and visit again. I come and visit again and I say to myself, you got something here. Okay, work on this today. I work on that today. Maybe I say, wow, okay, I am not getting it yet. And then I walk away and I say, words, find me. And indeed they do. And I would say my average is 10 edits a poem.
Wow.
This can go on. This can go on a week, 2 weeks, put away, seeing again in a month and saying, oh my gosh, there was something here. So it's always like a work in progress, but usually the experience comes first. And then I move over to the curb and write in my phone a word or two that says, you need to look at this because it's evoking something in you.
I'm going to try that. Words, find me.
Good. And I will look forward to seeing what you've written. Okay. See, this is very interesting. And this is the writing and the psychotherapy and the aging. Catherine, you just gave me a connection. About 8 months ago, a client said to me midway in the session, Jane, can you repeat what you said in the beginning of the session? Because it was such a great sentence. And for the life of me, I had no idea. And I took a beat and then I said to her, listen, I don't remember the brilliant sentence I might have said to you. But what I'm willing to do is take notes, you take notes, or you tape me. Either way is fine, because I won't be able to bring back what I said. And so that is true with writing too. If I do not write it down at the moment, or, maybe it will come to me 4 hours later, but I still need to be present at that moment. And they need, especially with clients, they need to be present.
Your book is, it says The Truth and Humor of Life After 65. So you've chose, it's not, all of these poems are not humorous. Many are, however. And so I'm wondering why, what prompted you to bring the humor into this whole era of aging?
I think because there are funny things that go on in your life, and why aren't we acknowledging them? Waitress says to me, what will we have? Well, excuse me, honey, but I will have this. You have not been invited to our lunch. People, I guess that's also about observation, where you see the difference. You see what might have been, what is, what could have been, and it's funny. And if we can't, we need to be able to laugh at ourselves. We need to be able to be vulnerable. I think these things are very important in terms of how we connect with other people. We're not perfect people, especially as we get older. We're not perfect people. I can remember being on the bus and looking down at my feet, and one sock was blue and one sock was black. And I'm thinking, not good, not good. Luckily, they were both dark, and that's probably what threw me originally. But, we do things. What? I'm going to punish myself for that? Absolutely not. I'm going to laugh and enjoy that.
Yeah. There's another poem in you.
Talk to me, page 37. This is what we're really talking about now. Talk to me. Hey, is there someone who's supposed to warn you of the health stuff as you age? Doctor, friend, the internet? No one sounded the bell for me on belching, dehydration, constipation, or flatulence. No talk of elongated earlobes, receding gums, facial hair, or that I would get winded and need to pause in the middle of the street to catch my breath. Were body malfunctions too private to share? Did I not make the time to ask the questions? Did you not want to tell me about my physical future? I want to know what's normal and what's not. Maybe we could just be a little more honest and vulnerable with each other. Perhaps we could connect on a deeper level through sharing our stories, even the scary ones, of our health fantasies and fears and what makes each of us feel better.
Beautiful message.
Yeah, and it's interesting because someone this morning wrote to my website and said, I'm not laughing, but I am laughing, said, I have a kidney stone, and because of what you wrote, I understand. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I wrote back and said, go to the emergency room, take care of yourself, because it is pain like you've never felt. And I thought, that's so interesting. But this is, I think, what the message is. The message is we need to talk to each other. We need to not be alone in our thoughts that get scary. We need to be out there and to say, hey, I've been through that. Yeah, I can tell you about that. That to me is the connection and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable.
We definitely agree. It's one of the reasons we have a podcast.
And that's exactly it. So you reach people and have people on who hopefully with me, tell them something they may wish to hear, they didn't know they needed to hear, and now they will hear. Very exciting, Catherine and Gail. Yay.
Thank you. Gail, you were going to say something, I think.
Probably, but it was a while ago.
Okay, sorry. In the few minutes we have left, what's on the horizon for you?
I'm taking notes for a new book on aging because there's so much to talk about. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. So I'm doing this. I still have a small psychotherapy practice, but I don't take any new clients, and I haven't for a year, and that seems like a safe bet for them and for me. And I'm still out exploring.
Good.
In the last week, I was thinking, do people have comfort kits? And maybe that's an idea that I should be thinking about and talking about. Do you know what comforts you when the sky is falling? I think we need to know that for ourselves. What food brings me pleasure? What music would I like to hear? And I thought about I have a quote book that I've kept probably, I don't know, more than 10 years. When I read a quote, I put it in this book, and I must have more than 400 quotes in there. And I remember when I first went to my first writers in residency, where I was really scared out of my mind at 65 to be going there, I took my quote book. And it was important for me to read some of the quotes I had saved over the years. So I would just like to examine that with other people and ask them what comforts you, or find out and write it down. Gather it together. Know what brings you pleasure. Yeah.
When you said that initially, I was thinking of a comfort care package. The older you get, the more you need to have things with you.
Yes.
Are available to you when you need them for the things that happen to you when you're older.
Yes. Do you want to give us an example? Are you thinking of something specific?
I'm thinking of things like to deal with flatulence, or
Yes.
to deal with, oh my God, I have to walk another 5 minutes. I can't wait another minute. What do I do?
Yes. 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 That's exactly it. That is part of aging. Yes. But we scope, we decide what to do before we set out. We know where the bathrooms are. I probably know every bathroom on the Upper West Side. We know these things because we take care of ourselves.
Right. And where the female tree is.
Yes.
It's hard to find a cornfield here in the cities. Yeah.
Right.
When you said, do you know what comforts you when the sky is falling? Prior to I had written the word because you were talking about it, resilient.
Yes.
And when I wrote this sentence, it bumped up right against the word resilient.
Beautiful.
There it is.
That is how you build resilience.
Right.
And you take care of it before you need it.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Yes. And you don't say, oh, me, never. I would never do that.
No, no, no. I think there's always a first time when we would do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Jane, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing some of your poems. People, go out and get this book. It is humorous. It is poignant. And we've really enjoyed talking with you, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've enjoyed talking with you.
And listeners, because of your loyalty, our numbers continue to grow. Still, we'd like to see more of you at our monthly online programs. Make your voice heard as together we change the conversation about women aging. Visit womenover70.com.